Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Recharge Your Life. I am GIO, your community health and life coach, always finding ways to help you balance your well being. And today I am so excited to have my guest because we're going to bring you so much value and nuggets and really help you either start or continue. So help me welcome today my guest, Sean Russell with SoFlo Vegans. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to speak with you.
Yes, I am too. So, we're going to talk all about SoFlo Vegans and really get to know your story. However, you are a man of very many hats, from what I understand. So, why don't you just tell our audience a little bit of who are you, right? A little bit of your background, and then we'll kind of dig into the food portion around really health, right? And your journey to becoming a vegan. So, go ahead.
Okay, well, I started, I would say my professional journey started in middle school, where I knew I wanted to be a producer, not a director, not anything, a producer. When I figured out what it was, I give Steven Spielberg like credit for that, realizing he was the producer behind Men in Black. So I got into uh, high school, where I started learning Highlandale High School. Let me shout them out, where I started learning how to create videos. So I had the opportunity to do that all 4 years at high school. And through there, got opportunities to work with NBC, got my news story put on the 5 o'clock news before I graduated. And I also got a job with the Florida Marlins, back then, Florida Marlins, Miami Marlins. So that kind of just gave me that boost to want to pursue that my entire life. Went to college for it. But I diverged and worked full time in an elementary school. And I credit working in the school system for balancing my energy, because it was very tech focused. It was very me centric. But when I actually had a chance to work with the students and work with children, it opened up another part of me, like this, created like a softer balance where I was able to connect with people and also bring that techie side to it. So I felt like that experience gave me almost a superpower. But I was able to still scratch that itch, because while I was in education, I had side projects. I did anime and manga. If you're familiar with Japanese animation and comic books, I had a whole news network similar to SoFlo Vegans going on. I did music, so I interviewed like over 300 artists, went on tour with alternative rock bands, did a whole bunch of fun stuff. And and then the other thing too that I did that I'm really proud of, that I'm going to continue to do, is in line of working with children, is I had a program called Russell's Roving Reporters, where I taught third, fourth, and fifth graders how to create news packages for the morning announcements. And what I found is that that program built leadership skills and helped them become effective communicators, which is something that I really passionate about. Because no matter what you do, being able to communicate effectively is key, and that's something that you don't always learn. So seeing the students being able to grab onto that and see how it impacted them makes me want to continue that. So so that's my story up until I decided to go vegan, but very, very grounded in communication media.
Love
That's my
that.
passion.
And so thank you for sharing your background because I think that's important as to where our story starts. And it sounds like passion for you is a combination of mentorship, right, with the work that you do with the kids in the community, as well as kind of where you started, right, within the producing type business. So now I'm curious, let's talk about vegan becoming a vegan. Now, we talk about health, right? So, balancing your well-being, I truly believe it's around 5 areas of life, which is health, finances, love and relationships, career calling, and connection to something greater. So, when it comes to health, we know food is a really big part of it and sometimes very overwhelming for people. So, share with me a little bit about your story of how you became a vegan. What was it one day that just either clicked or you became curious about it?
So I always say it's planting seeds. And
No pun intended.
so for me, it was, I was overweight. I was not really happy with my physical condition. So I decided to take charge.
Okay.
I found this program online called Beyond Diet. and it essentially laid out everything you needed to know about nutrition, the different food groups, what you're putting in your body.
Mhm.
So it's like once I read that and experienced that, I couldn't unsee it.
Yeah.
So I consciously knew what I was doing while I was eating those foods. So I decided to systematically remove a lot of those foods from my diet. So it started with dairy, then it went to red meat, then it went to another food item, to the point where, I was working at school. There was a vegetarian. So I was just curious to
Yeah.
get some information, like, what does it mean to be vegetarian?
Yes.
What's your experience? And then she pretty much broke it down to me and let me know about
Yes.
veganism. And she explained it to me. And I was like, wow, if I just eliminate these two food groups, I'd be vegan. Let's see if I can challenge myself to be vegan. So I did that in 2008.
Wow.
And
Okay.
for about a year, I was vegan. And this is the interesting part, especially people who know about the vegan community.
Mhm.
I went on a trip in 2009, and I remember the date because it was around the time Michael Jackson died, and I was at an event by the Staples Center, so it was a zoo. And I was in Los Angeles, of all places, where I fell off my first vegan
Okay.
path. And the reason I say that's ironic is because it's probably the most densely populated vegan, you know, community in the country. So it just goes to show you, when you're missing a few things, it doesn't matter where you are, you could still kind of fall off the path.
Yes.
So it wasn't until 2013 I kind of retooled, figured out what was missing. It was community. It was being able to tap into different resources, going to events. So I figured out what that was, went vegan again in 2013, then decided I wanted to form my own community because I didn't see exactly what I was looking for. Fell into a meetup group. The organizer dropped out. It was just like divine timing. I was South Florida Vegans was the group. I rebranded it SoFlo Vegans,
Okay.
built to maybe 2 more years, built a website, did some R&D, launched 2017, and have been doing it ever since.
Wow. Okay. So really taking the time to develop it and give it a shot. I mean, you said so many great things and really gave out so many nuggets there. Number one, I think one of the biggest things that I heard from you was that once you have awareness, you have responsibility,
Mhm,
right? And that was taking charge of your health, which is really important. The other thing I heard from you is, again, it was trial and error, making your way through what nutrition looked like for you, which then curiosity led you to becoming a vegan. I'm now super curious, what benefits have you seen
mhm,
from not just becoming a vegan? We're going to talk about that,
mhm.
but in just paying attention and more emphasis around your food.
So what it does, it makes me mindful, it brings me into a mindful state
Yeah.
where I'm not just gonna go to McDonald's and just grab a food when I'm hungry. It's like, okay, no, I don't eat that. I don't eat that. And then you get to a point where it's like, okay, if I'm gonna put all this effort into finding something, why don't I just make it? Then you start making your food, you make it
Yeah.
exactly how you want it, and then it tastes great. So I find like being mindful of the food that you put into your body also plays a role in other areas of your life because now you're in this practical practice of mindfulness,
Yes.
and you're mindful in the relationships that you
Yes.
enter into, you're mindful into the work that you do. So that's how I would say food has that impact
Yes.
on me.
And listen, you just brought all this full circle for me, which is exactly the emphasis that I try to communicate to the audience. And that is, it takes a little bit of all areas of life to be able to balance your well being. And they all have a trickle down
Mm.
effect based on if one area is completely out of whack. So, besides losing weight, and am I allowed? How much weight did you lose?
Collectively, I lost about 60 pounds.
Okay. Wow. That's that's almost another person. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
Now, but what other benefits? Tell me about how you feel. What is the difference? Because I think that once we experience the benefits in changing our diets, that's what makes the difference. You don't want to go back.
Mm-mm.
So tell me a little bit how your life has changed in changing your food habits and then specifically going into veganism.
So, what changed for me that I can point to is around the time before I went vegan, I was suffering from horrible allergies. And I think it had something to do with the school and the ventilation or what
Mhm.
have you. And I was at a point where I was getting shots every single week. And I got the test, and I was like everything except three things on the list. So, after I changed my diet, and this is even before I went vegan, just like removing all these things, especially dairy and meat from my
Mhm.
diet,
Mhm.
I realized, like, I wasn't waking up with a stuffy nose. I wasn't sneezing. It's just I got rid of all
Yeah.
my medications and, I haven't really suffered from allergies since. So, that would be one of the big things that I noticed.
And that's huge, right? And I think you are pointing towards what today are food sensitivities,
Mm.
that our bodies respond a certain way to certain foods, as well as inflammation throughout our body. And going vegan does have a lot of benefits because there are certain ingredients and animal products that do cause inflammation and do cause certain sensitivities as the allergies that you experience, or like joint pains or bloated, having being bloated of all sorts. So, yes, so you're still seeing those benefits. Energy, I'm sure you feel amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, at this point, I forgot how I felt before, but I could tell you I rarely get sick.
Yeah.
When I do get sick, it's like, "Oh, wow, this is what it feels like." It's like, "Oh, help me, poor me." But, yeah, I rarely get sick. Yeah, I mean, I used to suffer from horrible breakouts, and that definitely cleared up once I, switched my diet. So there are a lot of I'm sure there's other things I could think
Yeah.
of, but those are the biggies.
Yeah. Okay. So before we talk about SoFlo vegans and a little bit of that story and what you're doing with them today, um, if someone in the audience says, okay, I want to follow that journey, right? Because I realize that some things do need to change with my health. Where do you start? Like, where would you recommend for someone to start?
I would recommend that you look into local gatherings.
Mm,
I feel at the source of connection, at the source of transformation is connection.
mhm.
And no matter where you live, I can almost guarantee you there will be some sort of gathering or some sort of meetup or some sort of opportunity for you to meet like-minded people.
Okay.
I recommend Meetup
Yeah.
because it's in almost every city.
Okay.
And then just search for vegan in your area. And even if they don't have vegan in your specific city, look for a neighboring one because sometimes that might be the case. And then from there, you'll be getting firsthand knowledge of resources, and it's going to hit a little bit harder than if you just searched on Google or whatever.
Agreed. So putting it into action is what you're saying.
Mhm,
And you're right. You're pointing something out that's no different if all of a sudden I create a goal that I want to run a half marathon. Well,
mhm,
what would I do? I would join
mhm,
a running group. And I don't think that we stop to think about that there are groups, connections of all sorts out there. And I would have never thought to say, okay, let me search that community to gain the support and connection because it's really important.
mhm.
So thank you for that. That's certainly something that I had not thought about and helps our audience to gain that resource as well. Okay, so let's talk about SoFlo vegans. All right. What are you doing with them? What's going on? Like, how often does it happen? How large is the community? Just tell me everything.
Yeah, so, I've been running SoFlo Vegans. I founded it in technically 2014, launched 2017, and we're just figuring out how to bring the community together, how to showcase what's going on. And it wasn't until maybe a few years after I started it that I realized, yes, in the present and in the future, we're servicing the community, but also from a perspective of the past.
Mm,
It's a great tool and resource for you to see where the community was and where it is now. So, like, you could literally go on our website, our mobile app, and see videos and photos from events from 2016 until today. So, it's creating this time capsule
wow.
of the thesis that South Florida is a global hotspot for
Okay.
veganism.
And the evolution of it, I'm sure.
100%. So that's at the core SoFlo Vegans, but we do events, going back to being able to get people together to be connected. We do a lot of behind the scenes marketing and support for businesses and festivals.
Okay.
Had the privilege of working with a lot of great festivals here in South Florida and media, especially in 2020 we really doubled down in creating content because then that's independent of the weather or event
Yeah.
happening or what have you. So we've been doing a podcast, videos, articles. We just launched a magazine. I have a book that I just officially announced today that's coming out for pre-vegans. And it's just a combination of creating content, creating events, and then being behind the scenes supporting everyone that's in the community. That's what essentially SoFlo Vegans
Wow.
is.
So yeah, so sounds like a full-time operation. So are you fully dedicated to that today?
100% dedicated. In 2017, I left the school board completely. I actually did an early retirement for the school board
Okay.
and just decided to go all in with SoFlo Vegans. I run a marketing agency, but
Okay.
what ends up happening is I noticed that all of my clients were organizations that I've worked with through SoFlo Vegans. So at a certain point, I just decided just to really focus on businesses that are focused on empowerment, helping people be their best selves, whether it's
Yes.
through beauty, whether it's
Yes.
through the food that they put in their body, doctors. That's really where I gravitate towards.
Ah, okay. Yeah. So we have very, very similar, not just values, but vision in taking something and having it become a connection to other avenues. And so with that, you're doing the SoFlo Vegans. You just mentioned you announced a book today.
Yes,
So tell me
yes.
about that. This is very exciting. It's your first book,
It is
yes?
my first book, and
Did you ever think you were going to write a book then?
I always say when I talk about the book, it's like the family. If you ever watch the Family Guy, the whole gag, "Oh, how's the novel coming along?" And so it's like I've always had in the back of my head to do it, and it's just like I've done pretty much every single other type of media. So
Okay.
it's like the book has been that thing hanging on the shelf. So
The bucket
yes,
list thing, you
yeah,
think?
I would say a bucket list to
Okay.
get the first book out there. So I'm excited. It's the book is called Pre-Vegans,
Okay.
and it's a collection of different stories from prominent members of the vegan community sharing their journey, because a big part of it is it seems like an overwhelming feat, especially if you don't have a foot into the community or into
Yeah.
the lifestyle. So the goal and intention of the book is to show these amazing people. You have Earthling Ed, you have Ingrid Newkirk, people who you would think like were vegan their whole entire
Yeah.
life, sharing that story when they were pre-vegans.
Yeah.
And then there's resources, tools, lists to kind of help you as well, almost like a guide for you to take around with you to help you
Wow.
on your journey. So
Oh,
that's the
that's
goal.
wonderful. And what I love what you just said about that is that if you're interested in becoming a vegan, it's a journey, right? It's about discovery. It's okay if you feel like you didn't get it right out of the gates, because it's a new lifestyle. It's education, it's like you said, it's mindset, it's connection. And though it may seem intimidating to some, you can start very little. You don't have to go full in, would you say?
Yeah, I would say you don't have to go full in, but even more important than that is just understanding why you're doing it, because then
Yes.
you're not going to be so held up on the label. Like
Yes.
it's okay if you're not, let me pick my words carefully. If your focus in your why isn't for the animals, you don't have to feel compelled to call yourself a vegan.
Got it.
You could be you living a plant-based lifestyle. Work your way into it. Learn a little bit more about it. Go to an animal rights rally and see what it's about. You know, I feel like you get into the lifestyle and you have to take it all on or nothing at all.
Mhm.
It's like,
Mhm.
it's okay, if you're going to wanna take baby steps, just be okay. Even if you have to have a label, just call yourself plant-based, it's
Yeah.
fine. And the reason
Yeah.
I say that, because I'm thinking from the perspective of the community,
Okay.
it's confusing sometimes,
Yes.
especially when you have a lot of celebrities saying that they're vegan, but they're really technically plant-based, and then
Mm.
2 weeks later, like, "Oh, I had to eat meat again." It's like, it's okay if you had to eat meat again, but just it there's a lot of momentum and a lot of work that's being done behind the scenes in the community for, animals, for animal advocacy.
Yeah.
So we get excited. We get,
Yeah.
if you hear, "Oh, Kevin Hart went vegan,"
Yeah.
that's huge,
Yeah.
you
Of
know?
course. Yeah.
But so going back to my first thing I said, it's that why. Being clear on that why you're doing it, and then getting support, because the community will come and support you. If you say, "I'm just trying to eliminate, red meat. How can I do it?" They'll support you.
Yeah. And wow, you just said something that is really powerful. At least with me, it just really resonated right now. And that's the simplicity of things that I've heard before, but for some reason, with you saying it right now, really hit home. And that is, you don't have to label it, right? Because as humans, we love labels, right? Um, you can be plant-based. I honestly never had thought of that.
Mm.
And it's okay for you that, again, if you knowing your why, and you actually took the words right out of my mouth, because I was going to say, knowing what's your motivating factor, exactly why are you doing this? And then even asking yourself, why are you doing that? Right?
Mhm.
Why and why? So thank you for that, because that's huge. And I'm always a huge advocate of saying, look, you've heard this information before, but it's receiving it at a different time that may make a difference. And again, I'll point out that that was just huge for me, what you just gave me,
Mhm.
in that I really felt a lot of pressure around that label vegan, but you can call it something else. So thank you for that. Hopefully all of y'all heard that, because at least that was very valuable for me. So yes, so you announced the book today. When does it come out? Where do we find it? What are next steps?
Yes, yes, yes. So right now the pre-order is up on SoFloVegans.com. I'm also going to be putting it on my personal website, Sean A. Russell. Be hearing about it leading up to it. I have it tentatively scheduled to come out March 7th. So if it's going to be pushed back, you'll definitely know. But March 7th is the date that I'm publicizing. And yeah, I'm just excited to get it out there. I have ideas. I'm always thinking like 417 steps ahead. So like I have to just calm down a little bit. Let's get this first book out and then go
Yes,
from there.
yes.
But it's exciting.
Well, again, you're a man of very many hats. You seem very motivated to just make a huge impact on our community through different type of avenues. So yeah, with this book coming out, I think it's great. But what would you say, what's your big vision? I mean, with no obstacle, no challenge in the way, what's that big vision?
So, wow, I love talking about the big vision. All right, so the big vision is what I'm doing right now with South Florida.
Uh-huh.
I want to do globally.
Mm,
I want to find other individuals who put in the work, who are planting the seeds, bring the community together around the country, connect with them, showcase them through a larger platform, and then work together to build on what they already are creating
mhm.
or learn from what they're creating and
Yes.
help build a model that anyone can apply.
Okay.
So that's the big vision for what I'm doing
Okay.
here. And so making South Florida a global hotspot for veganism. I'm a native South Floridian, one
Okay.
of the few. I just always have to say that joke when I say
No, but it's good.
it.
It's important. Yes.
But and I feel like I'm an expert on South Florida because I've worked in a lot of different industries, from music to entertainment to, education, veganism. And the common thread that I see is that there's so much to do here in South
Mm,
Florida, so many different communities, not a lot of intersection. So
mm.
while you can wake up and have fun, if you're in a particular industry or a particular community, there's a bit of a barrier to bringing people together without being like the next big thing.
Got it.
So
Got it. Got it.
so that's where I'm coming from with making South
Mhm.
Florida a global hotspot for veganism. It's like I want people to know without a shadow of a doubt, we are the place to go to for veganism. So that model can then be created in this sort of atmosphere. Then I can go to another place that doesn't have those obstacles and duplicate it really easily.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I love that. And I can already feel the energy behind it. So
Mhm.
it's going to happen without a doubt. Now, when you say being connected to people in other communities, like what kind of people are you looking for?
So, for example, I mean, I have actual tangible examples. So, in Orlando, for example, I consider that my second home.
Mhm.
And there's an individual called the Orlando Bearded Vegan, and he's doing amazing things, even things that I'm not doing down here. So, it's about building those relationships. So, when
Okay.
the opportunities are available, I can just easily, reach out to that individual and be like, hey, here's the opportunity. I know you're plugged in. I want to provide these resources. Do you want to be a part of what we're creating? Then go to Colorado and go to this individual,
Got it.
LA. So that's
Got
the
it.
answer.
I love it. So if you're listening today, please,
Mhm.
share this segment, because it's important that we get out there and help Sean with his vision. And we could say we had just a little bit to do with it. So, okay. So I have a little surprise kind of thing, because what our audience does not know is that you are a birthday boy today. So, with that,
Uh,
I figured that we could just celebrate a little bit, put a little headpiece here, yay, have you put on, a birthday hat.
Sure,
And
sure.
we also have a birthday button, so that nobody mistakes the fact that today is your birthday.
Oh, wow.
So, congratulations. Happy birthday to you. And hopefully, yay! Thank you. I feel like we need music in the background. Go, Short. It's your birthday. Yeah.
Funny.
But yes, happy birthday,
Thank
Sean.
you. Thank you.
Listen, I've never had anyone with their birthday here, so I feel like I had to do something special for you. I am absolutely just so happy and grateful that you were here. I have so much to learn, which I'm sure that a lot of us do. But again, taking the time to go ahead and just try it, be curious, right? I always say, don't judge, be curious
Mm.
about things, because curiosity will lead you to your passions eventually. For anyone who wonders, what are my passions? So I think you're doing great work. I think that the synergy between, really impacting the community, working with our youth, and using your talents and skills with being a producer, I mean, let's call you a triple threat,
Mm.
because I think that's what you are. So, with that, thank you so much for being here. Anything else that you want to leave, or a message or anything?
I'll just I'll just whatever back off of what you just said. Yes, those are huge for me. And coming from a place of understanding versus a place of judgment, that's something that I work on every single day. And I just wanted to just say that because you touched on that in a little bit. So that I would say, be mindful. Don't be afraid to do the work on yourself. I spent
Mm.
4 years working on myself, and I'm still working on myself, and always coming from a place of love and abundance. And yeah, that's what I get to be.
That's awesome. Yes, because you're speaking my language, Sean. You really are. Where go into discomfort, right? Really embrace it, because when you are in that I don't know stage, or discomfort, or where to start, what to do, that's exactly where you need to, because that means that possibility and opportunity are right in front of you. You're in it. So thank you for that message. Thank you for bringing it together. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you. I cannot wait to see what this book does. So keep us in mind. Last thing, how can we find you? So SoFlo Vegans website.
SoFlo Vegans website. We're very active on Instagram, Facebook. Pretty much we have the handle SoFlo Vegans with an S everywhere. But the website is a good place to get it, and the app as well. Search for it on the Android and Apple store, and search SoFlo Vegans.
Wonderful. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much for everything. So there you have it, Miami, recharging your life, how to balance your well-being, digging into health, and then down into food. SoFlo Vegans, check them out. Just start, be curious, and know that you take one step at a time. Sean, thank you for coming, a man of very many hats. I can't wait to see what you do in the future and how you impact South Florida and actually the whole world.
Mhm.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. See y'all next time. Bye.